AITA for telling my stepdaughter to go ask her real dad when she asked me to pay for her plane tickets. I married my wife Elise 12 years ago. She has a 16-year-old daughter, Anna, from her previous relationship, and we have a 7-year-old son as well. From pretty much the beginning of our relationship, Anna and I have never gotten along. I don't know how to emphasize that it is not because of a lack of trying. She just does not like me. When she was young, she was just scared of me and afraid I'd tear their family apart. Nowadays it's more of a neutral dislike rather than strong antipathy, so I suppose that's progress. Elise is a stay-at-home mother, so she relies on me for income. As a result, I pay for everything for Anna. Food, clothes, volleyball fees, field trips. I take an interest in her hobbies. I go to her games. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I try my damn hardest to be the stepfather I can. But it's so hard. Always giving me curt one-word responses. Always having to have an attitude. She does things to get a rise out of me. Staying out late reeking of booze. Always trying to sneak boys in. Typical rebellious stuff. But I always let her know I love her and I'm there for her in hopes of her shithead teenager phase pasts. The opposite is true for her biological father. She adores him. Can't tell you why. He never goes to her games, always makes excuses for why he doesn't want to see her. He forgot her birthday last month and she cried herself to sleep. Well, anyways, Friday, I came to her room to check her phone and read her messages, not a permanent thing, but she's been caught sneaking out twice in the last month, so this is her punishment. I ask for the phone, she says, "No, I'm tired of you checking my shit, leave me alone." I tell her I'm not asking again and she goes, "Just fuck off already. You're not my real dad. You never have been. Stop acting like you can tell me what to do," before getting up and slamming the door. Like I said, guys, I'm tired. Tired of the blatant disrespect. Of being the verbal punching bag while still providing more for her than anyone else in her family. We haven't really talked since until this morning during breakfast. She asked if I could pay for her plane ticket so she could see her boyfriend cross state. Like I said, her mom doesn't work and her dad is a POS, so I normally would be the one to cough up the money. Not this time. I responded, "Go ask your real dad." I could tell she was hurt. Tears swelled up from her face and she excused herself from the table. My wife took me aside later and said my comment was extremely disrespectful. I said if anything's disrespectful, it's her treating me like a doormat and a credit card, and I will no longer tolerate this treatment in my house. I told her we don't have to be friends, but if she can't at least be cordial to me or respect my position as an authority figure, she can find someone else to pay for her non-essentials. AITA? Edit. Just adding a TLDR at the request of a comment. My stepdaughter continuously disrespects me and my authority. She told me that I'm not her real dad. Later on, she asked me to buy her tickets and I told her to go ask her real dad. AITA? And to add more context, my wife is a saint. She does stick up for me when Anna says something rude or snarky. She just said, stooping to her level was inappropriate. But she's a wonderful mom and tries her best. She's tried, but to be honest, she's not great at this type of stuff. She's a wonderful mom, but tends to just excuse the rebellious behavior with a "she'll grow out of it." And like I said, Anna has been making progress. I think it's less, she's not good at it, and more that she bought into the myth that never being honest about a divorced spouse's true character somehow protects the child. Anna was allowed to continue with an unrealistic and incorrect image of her father. This just delayed reality for her to an age where she's ruled by emotions and hormones. Your wife is doing you both an injustice and needs to play a larger role here. She can't criticize you when she's not doing her part. She can't opt out of disciplining or teaching or guiding her child. That is the foundation of being a good mom. I always try to speak either positively or neutrally about my ex in front of our son. I hope he does the same for me. Hearing my parents voice their hate for each other always felt like they hated a part of me, if that makes sense. I told my mother that when I became a parent myself, and she started to cry. I wish I'd had the words to tell her sooner. There's a difference in being neutral, and letting a child have false hope. You're absolutely right about that. I'm not condoning negativity, but delaying the truth isn't always the best idea. If her bio dad is skipping out on everything in her life and she's crying her eyes out because of it, what truth is left to tell her? Maybe she can be an example to others if why you don't hide, deflect the truth when a child is young, but being an example doesn't really help her or her family. I know, "Get therapy" is a common refrain here, but, considering no one in this family seems equipped to handle one another, they have to change something somehow to make it work, and agree on doing so, too. I'm not sure what the alternative is. Children often take their parents' lack of caring or effort in these scenarios as a fault of their own. If only I weren't such a shitty kid, then maybe daddy would want to spend time with me. Maybe if I were more interesting he'd come to my game. Which is why sometimes the good parent needs to reaffirm that it isn't their fault, and that the other parent isn't treating them fair at all. It's tough to not cross into shit-talking territory, but when you've got an emotionally wrecked child it might be necessary to kindly let them know that mommy, daddy is kind of a jackass. A candid conversation with the kid might help them in coming to the realization on their own. BF recently did this with his child, 12F. After a blow-up, daughter was emotional about her parents hating each other. He told her that he only hates mom because she can't make daughter a priority. That nothing daughter does will change mom, because that's how mom is. Daughter has since distanced herself from mom after multiple unsuccessful attempts at visits, weekends with mom. We have her back, of course, and will continue to, even if she decides to resume visits in the future. I recently had a bit of a shock in this part, myself. My wife and I actively avoid talking shit about my son's bio dad. We try to put him in the best light we can, given the circumstances. Short version is that his bio dad and my wife got together before I met her. Amusingly, he was a high school friend of mine, so I knew him well. After they got married and my wife got pregnant, he needed to have his wisdom teeth pulled. They were living with my mill at the time. He decided not to tell work that he was having his wisdom teeth pulled until about 2 hours before he was due to go into the office the evening after the pull happened. He called in and told them that he couldn't work because of the pain. Now, it's nearly impossible to get coverage for overnight shifts when you have no notice. His manager sent him a note saying basically that he needs to give more notice next time. He decided to cuss her out for it and was told to not show back up at work until he could apologize for his attitude. He refused to do so. This left my wife as the sole breadwinner of the family. And pregnant. Over the next several months, she continued to work and bring in pay. He didn't work to find a new job. Finally, about 3 months after my son was born, she told him to either get a job or get out because she can't afford to support all 3 of them on her salary. He chose to get out. From the time he left until today, he has never shown any interest in his son. This all culminated in a few years ago. I finally was able to complete his formal adoption by me, thus making him effectively my son, as if he wasn't already. About a week ago, I got a surprise though. He was to write up a thing for school about the origin of his name. This is what he wrote. Note: none of this was prompted by either me or my wife. Most people have to deal with the name their parents gave them until they are old enough to change their name themselves. I, on the other hand, got to choose what my name was in the 4th grade. This is because I was adopted by my dad. I chose the name that I have to this day because I wanted to disconnect myself as much as possible from the man that refused to get a job and made it so my mom had to ask him to either actually look for a job so that my mother wasn't the only one providing income for my family, or he needed to take his stuff and leave. He chose to leave my mother, and I don't really know what kind of man he was or is now. This is mainly due to the fact that he never sent letters to check up on me, never made any attempt to remember my birthday, and never made an attempt to even pretend to care about the well-being of the 2 people he basically abandoned. Then my mom found the man that would be my adopted father. He is kind, caring, compassionate, and sometimes a bit punny. He has his bad days, but then again, he is only human and we all have bad days from time to time. He always tries to take time out of his day if I am going through a hard time and tries to listen and understand to the best of his ability. This is why I have his last name now instead of my biological father's last name. I am proud to have the last name of someone who actually cares about his family, rather than the last name of someone who only cares about himself. This is why I chose my own name and the story behind why I chose it. Given the way he and I sometimes have trouble, I'm kinda floored by this. You are most definitely NTA, and it can get better, but you should probably work to frame your explanation as to why you said to go ask her, real dad, so that she understands that what she had said hurt you, especially given all that you do for her as compared to all he does.